evening. It is 6:30. How's everyone doing this evening? Good. Well, my name is Tiffany Stewart Stanley. I'm the Director of External Affairs for Douglas County, and I am excited to welcome you guys tonight to Commissioner Kelly Robinson's Lee Road Town Hall. We have an informative evening with a lot of great things on the agenda. Tonight you will hear about the 2016 T-SPLOST. You'll also hear about economic development in District 2, the Lee Road Master Plan. We'll hear from our Transportation Director, and then there will be some time for questions and answers at the end of the agenda. One of the things that with the Department of External Affairs is our main thing is in public engagement for this county. And so one thing that I want to make you aware of is that we're getting ready to go full swing into the 2020 census. And so you'll be hearing a lot from Douglas County about making sure that all of our citizens in Douglas County count. This initiative will be headed by our planning director, Mr. Ron Roberts. So I just want you guys to be on the lookout for information about the census. Please make sure to tell your neighbors, tell your friends, because it's very important that everybody in Douglas County counts. So once again, just please be on the lookout for that. If you have any questions about that, feel free to contact myself or Mr. Roberts with any questions. So at this time, I want to thank our sponsor for our food this evening. If you haven't noticed, we have some food on the table that you can partake in. And I want to thank Mr. Grady Smith with VHB. Thank you so much for your contribution tonight. So at this time, we're going to have a brief safety update by Major Bobby Holmes with the Douglas County Sheriff's Department.
How y'all doing this evening? My name is Bobby Holmes. I'm a major with the Sheriff's Office and I oversee all the law enforcement operations for the county, patrol, investigations, and all of that. So what I wanted to talk to y'all about a little bit with District 2, I want to thank Commissioner Robinson for allowing me to come down here tonight to give y'all a little bit of an idea. I know a lot of times there's concerns about what's going on around the Thornton Road corridor, Lee Road corridor, and things. A lot of times, as usual with law enforcement, you may not always see what's going on down there. Obviously, you'll see our patrol functions and our vehicles, but we have some specialty things that are going on down around the Thornton Road corridor involving one of our units. I think y'all may have seen some of the cars called Scorpion units that patrol the areas of the county a little bit, especially the Thornton Road corridor. We all know how much traffic and how busy that route is, and obviously with that it's going to bring crime to some degree, but we do a good job, I think, because crime has actually been down in the unincorporated county for the last 3 years. I don't know if a lot of folks realize that, but crime overall actually has gone down. But most of the things that folks see, like that y'all experience, obviously is a burglary, but entering autos is one of the things that goes on, and they come in spurts a lot. You'll have groups come in and do that, and we try to get into these hotels when they get happening, and also with some of y'all's neighborhoods to try and see if we can combat it, and it's actually been pretty successful. But I'm going to be here tonight throughout this, and so if anybody's got any questions specifically, we've already answered some questions about traffic in a couple of locations in the county that are concerned with speeding vehicles, and when I hear about that, I get with our patrol division and traffic commander, and we're able to move resources around where we can hopefully help quell some of these problems. So, but I want to be here and through the end of it, so if somebody has some questions or something, I'll be available to you.
All right, thank you, Major Holmes, for that safety update. So at this time, I will bring to you guys our great commissioner and vice chairman of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, someone who works very hard for District 2 and all of the citizens of Douglas County. At this time, let's welcome Vice Chairman and Commissioner 2 District Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Greetings. How are y'all? Good, good. Thank you all for coming out tonight. For those who haven't met me before, my name is Commissioner Kelly Robinson. I represent the 2nd District. We've got a pretty full program. I'm very sensitive about starting on time and ending on time. So I've got to get through this agenda But first things first, let me acknowledge at least a couple of people that are here. First and foremost, yesterday, Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones, who's the chairman of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, she's in her second year, first term, and she gave the state of the county at the chamber. And she did a wonderful job of setting expectations about where the future is going, but also where we came from. Right? You got to think about it. For the past 40 years, the county has pretty much gone a certain path. Now you got new leadership. Right? So she had to grab this thing and guide it in a way that wasn't traditionally known. She set some priorities, everything from public health was important, including mental health. Transportation was important for her, economic development. But the most thing that y'all don't get, that you see the things outside, I get to see her behind the scenes. And she's an efficient administrator. She's great at what she does. I mean, so she's bringing a level of what I want to say administration to the table that we've not had in this county before, right? It's progressive, it's benchmarking, it's metrics. We've never had that before. It was really Douglas County, and you guys know how I do this. Douglas County is a county that it's finally grown up. I've said this many years ago, just so some of you know, I've been here 10 years, right? I'm sort of the senior statesman. And we were like, Pee Wee Herman had our, we were teenagers. We've finally grown up. We're probably about 10,000 people short of being 200,000 if the census comes in right, which means we're a large county, right? So you got to recognize where we stand. So what does that mean? When you got, from the time I came here, I moved here in 1990. I've grown up all my life. I've lived in probably every community as you sort of age through. I've been in 3 apartments, 3 communities. Mount Vernon, Brookmont, Tributary. I know the whole district. A lot of you are my neighbors at one point in time. But to watch this over the past 30 years grow and evolve, it's been an amazing journey. So now, where do we take it from here when we pretty much, again, we're growing up. We got public-private partnerships that we're considering, right? We've got big economic deals, right? We've got everything from mental health, community service board, expansion of things that we've never done before, right? So there was a shift in the administration. You guys set it in motion. It's like, okay, let's see what y'all gonna do. Right? Let's just keep it real. Let's see how y'all lead us. And so for that, you picked Madam Chair as the Chief Executive, Air Force One, and she's come in a way that, like, this is not easy running a county when you have ideological differences, right? I mean, you don't have to maintain the status quo. Every now and then you gotta take a position. Right? And so what we had is a brand new team, and I know, Madam Chair, you guys can look at her tape, but Madam Chair, I just want to acknowledge, she said she went around and shook everybody's hand, but I have to acknowledge Dr. Ramona Jackson Jones, because without her steady leadership, you picked right in 2016. She's just what the county needed. It's steady, she's in the middle, she's educated, she's like, I got this, I know where I'm going, not gonna be bought, not gonna be brought, not gonna be rented, and I appreciate that about her. That's important. And so for that being said, you want to say anything, or if that was good enough? Guys, let's give her a hand clap, please. You're good, Madam Chair. Thank you all. That gets me a free lunch tomorrow. Okay, all right. Moving on. Okay, all right. Real quick, I've got to acknowledge all my elected officials that are in here. I've got one on the actual agenda in a minute, but I think I saw my city councilman here. Richard Siegel, are you here? Where are you, Richard? At the top. Of course, you're at the top. All right. Richard Siegel represents what? Pretty much we're overlap, but you're the eastern border for the city like I am the eastern border for the county. Okay. Welcome as always. We've got a pretty unique relationship with our city. And again, we're very different. Different views, different leanings. It's okay. But Richard, no, I'll take his phone call. And Richard will say, Commissioner Robinson, look, this is what we're looking for. We need to get a street light at the end of Fairview Road and what? Riverside Parkway. All right? And I recognize that you're working on some stuff, and he doesn't tell me everything, but I follow what's going on in the city. It's like, oh shoot, they need this. Send me some emails, Richard. Within a half hour, I got 50 emails of citizens. Send them to me, and immediately, Richard, what? It was on the agenda in the next Transportation Committee. That's important, to have lines of communication open. So we do work with our city. Thank you for coming. Also, I think our Solicitor General, where are you at? Hello, I'd give her a hand clap as well, thank you. Madam Solicitor, brand new, welcome. I know you've got work to do in learning, again, that curve, but welcome. And we appreciate you as well. Anybody else I'm missing other than my team, which I know I got them in a minute? Anybody else elected? Oh, I got her. I got her. I got her. She know I got her. I got her set up perfectly, and I'm waiting on my other colleague. All right, so let me keep this going. So to stay on task and on task, first up, we've got David Good who's going to come and speak. He's going to take 5 minutes to talk about your tax dollars. You guys authorized a penny SPLOST 2 years ago in 2016. We're only going to talk about District 2 because every month we talk about the status on our, during our work sessions and sometimes in the evenings during our legislative sessions. But he's going to come and quickly talk about the things that when you gave us that extra penny, and this is important, and so some of you who've never heard it, I've got to say it, and I appreciate the audience that's here. In 2009, again, I always have to give context. When I came in office, we're in the middle of what? The beginning of a recession. And during that recession, you know, as an economic development generator, the county at that time, the administration decided to offer up what? A jail as a single item decision, right? I've got to give you context on that. Spending $10 million for the land for the jail, $120 million to build a facility, right? To come back later, put another $15, $20 million on it for a tower, $150 million. You took $10 million out of the general fund for the land. You need to follow the math. Gone. During the recession, we're #1 in the state in foreclosures, #1 states on stress sales. We're #2 in the region in what's called unemployment, and we're 4th in the nation in personal bankruptcy. When I came in, that was the hand that was dealt. So, we're going to talk about Lee Road. And you want to know, well, what happened to the plans? Where'd the money go? How do we find where we are? Well, you need to know that backstory. You need to understand, so you know, guys, I'm an educator by default, and so I've got to explain this. And so when we got through that, all right, we paid it off, we did good, okay, the jail is paid for, but now you offered up like, okay, now that's out of the way, public safety is important here in Douglas County. There are other needs in the county. And so in 2016, you guys gave us the authority to do another penny SPLOST. We are grateful for it. And for that, there were 4 things that we went after, and David, I'm going to just take a little thunder to give context. Transportation was important, economic development as part of that. We had, obviously, there was some fire and EMS was important, and you said Parks and Rec. Those were your priorities. And that's what we set out in motion. It says, okay, we get public safety is necessary. Thank you, but can I get my roads paved? Can I get a senior center or something for my kids, right? Can we get some other things? And so this is a conversation about priorities, about balance. It says, okay, I got that way, but sometimes you can overdo it. You over leverage, you overspend, and there's other needs in the county. So David, I want you to come on up and let's just keep this thing moving. You're going to get about 5 minutes and talk about what this is, please. David Good, ladies and gentlemen. Please, give him a hand clap.
Thank you, everyone. Again, my name is David Good, and I'm the SPLOST Communication Director for the 2016 SPLOST. And before we start speaking, who in here did not know that we had a countywide SPLOST? Well, good. That means I've been doing my job, so I appreciate you guys. Well, first, let's go ahead and just really make this focus on District 2. First of all, there's $100 million that's coming to the county by way of SPLOST. The rest of the SPLOST is split between the city of Douglasville, which gets the next largest piece, and then it's split between the city of Villa Rica and the city of Austell, which, you know, have a small part in Douglas County and another part in another county. The first of that one is actually the 51% that actually goes towards transportation. And transportation is really what drives the county. If you can get around the county, you could do some things. So the very first thing that we actually have going on is getting our roads resurfaced. We actually are getting ready to resurface Lee Road, which a lot of people have complained about the bumping and driving along, including me. I've had to get my struts replaced because of the bumping, so I'm very happy that's when the road will be resurfaced. Also, we have a multi-purpose center. When you go over there to the Parks and Rec, which equals around 17%. If you guys, when you walked in there, you saw a rendering of both the multi-purpose center, which is going to be built over at Boundary Waters, and the second one is the senior center, which is going to be built over there in District 1, right across the freeway off of Lee Road, going on to South Sweetwater and Groovers Lake. The multi-purpose center is 25,000 square feet, and the senior center is a little bit over 18,000 square feet. So those are two of the verticals that's going on. Other verticals that are actually going on within this district is over at Boundary Waters. There was a need of a concession stand. We have a state-of-the-art football field, and right across to the soccer field. We're in the middle of those fields. We end up being a concession stand, so we can make sure that we have the press box and the kids will be able to go in and get foods and everything like that. The last part of it, of course, is going to be for safety. That represents about 32% of the SPLOST, $32 million. And when you think about that and safety is big here in the county. Because of all the construction that we have going on, new construction out here in this part of the county, we are actually building a fire station over there. It's going to be fire station number 9. And that's going to basically take care of all those warehouses that are being built, the new data center, and it's going to be built right there on Douglas Hill Boulevard. The other part of it is that we have some new projects that's going to come in. We're going to take care of some safety concerns. Mount Vernon and SR92, we end up getting a traffic light, and then there has to be something that needs to be done at the end of Riverside and SR92, and we're hoping for something to get done there. Depends on what the state allows us, because there is a light at Old Riverside and there's a light at Anawake. So more than likely, you might not be able to put a full traffic light, but something needs to be done at that intersection. The last part is definitely going to be on the freeway. Some of the ramps, they need better lighting. So therefore, you can see getting on and getting off. And the very last part is going to take my last 1 minute, is the fact that we are really trying to get minority and local business participation within the SPLOST. Right now, we have a bunch of projects going on, right about around 85 projects, and we really need people to become part of the SPLOST. It's your tax dollars. Use your tax dollars in order to further your business, build locally, shop locally, and live locally. And I appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
I got it. Okay. So real quick, and David hits on something really quickly. Let me slip by him. Real quick. Douglas County, and I again, this is for those who, this is being filmed. This will be part of my future town district dialogue. So again, don't worry if you don't get all of this. We're filming it because I think it's always important to have record. It's always every now and then, as an elected official, you have to take a position. Your citizens must know what you stand for. Do you stand or do you don't stand? Every now and then you can be, I'm not ready to make a decision. But at a base level, the citizens need to know what you stand for. And that's why I appreciate you guys sending me back. So let me give you some more context, and I'm going to bring up one of my peers here in just a second, so I'm going to set our expectations. But we're very serious about Douglas County, for the most part, has a reputation, for the most part, of like, okay, don't bring that crime over here. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the prior sheriff and obviously the current sheriff, Tim Pounds, for maintaining it. Like, no, don't bring that over here, which is why we put money behind the Scorpion unit on Thornton Road. And again, this is all about District 2, right? So I'm the wall. I'm the wall. That's important. So I got Cobb. Early today, I had a meeting with Lisa Cupid. She's the vice chairman of Cobb County, and we met, and we talked about some common interests. We talked about economic development. We talked about transportation. We talked about today and as well as tomorrow, right? So we have mutual interests. We have mutual borders. Right? That's one of our roles, is to not just be about the county, but you're part of a bigger universe, right? We're by ourselves. So I have to have those type of meetings like Madam Chair does as well. I tend to be more domestic home, and Madam Chair has a much broader footprint, but that's important. So here we are, Douglas County, for the most part, and I'll just be honest, guys, I thought Douglas County was, when I first came to office, was pretty closed. It was closed from everybody else, and it was closed even within itself. The needs this is my report card. This is my one view, is that it just didn't meet the full needs of the citizens. I mean, I'm behind the veil and I'm looking at how the money is flowing. I'm looking at, okay, you got this elitist downtown that like they're controlling the 1,000, controlling the 100,000. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, and I watched and I paid attention. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like I don't see this, right? The interests of the citizens weren't being met. This is not just here, Douglas. This is throughout the nation. You had a very privileged, and you were given this illusion of how things were going down, right? And I'm watching the money go out the back door. I'm looking at the consultants. I'm looking at $120 million, 4 points for this guy, and it's 10 people walking away with $100-something million, and y'all roll's not paid. But I was in the minority, right? But that's okay. I paid attention. One of the things I do get criticisms as your District 2 commissioner because I've always paid attention. It's like, yeah, I go get the District 2. Even from a minority position, it was like, no, my vote matters. And I made it work. The things that we're getting now that are primarily in District 2, yeah, because I stood up. I saw what was happening. It was like, okay, I can't stop it. I'm not majority. But, you know, let me show you what disruption means. It's like I can advocate for the interests of my citizens, right? I advocated. So all of you got a sheet of paper. This is important. Look at what you got here. This is important. You've got a program. And in that program, there's a foreclosure part. And I'm going to hit this really, really fast. Foreclosures. All right, and the first part should be, there's on one side of foreclosure, there's numbers, and on the back side, there's dollars. Look at the numbers. So there was always the suggestion that, you know, all these people moved into District 2, and they're dragging down the digest, and I'm like, y'all must be out your minds. And I used to take great offense to the narrative of the leadership at that time. I'm like, so what are you saying? All right, so let's look at the numbers on the slide. So who had the least foreclosures from 2008 to 2018? Which district? District 2. Okay? Well, I get there's this narrative that, okay, we've got these big lofty homes in other parts and stuff. I took great offense for there to be the suggestion that my residents some kind of way dragged on the digest. Because we did have a lot of homeowners. We did have a lot of growth at Anawaki, Brookmount, Mount Vernon. You name it, all of it. Yes, a lot of those tributary. Yes, but we didn't drag down the digest. Right? That's important to look at this, guys. We did not. All right? The other part, there's another document in there, and you're going to see it. It talks about the digest, and it shows a percentage. And if you look at it somewhere in the very middle, it talks about this whole notion that District 2 contributes 80% of the industrial base, 8%, and another 30% of the commercial. We carry the digest. We're important to Douglas County. That's important. And so it's important that you understand the value of your vote. It's just one vote. It's one. But please understand what you represent to the county and your contribution, both for the commercial people that are in here, who are in this town hall, who actually own businesses, as well as the homeowners, because I got both to take care of. So that being said, well, here we are, 2010, we've set up this narrative, and so here we are, we're moving along, District 2, so the question is, where are the dollars going that we're now giving you guys? One of the things that you just heard David talk about as it relates to foreclosure and all of that, and recycling the dollars. But at the end of the day, government is about redistribution of wealth. Everybody read Wealth of Nations. I mean, some of us are intelligent. We've had to read certain things to understand. Like, no, you better follow the money. It's a redistribution of the wealth. So the question is I went and advocated for District 2 and brought dollars back here. The question becomes, what did you guys get out of that? So here's my question. Have any of you guys bid on any of the contracts in the past 2 years? Or know of anybody who's bid on any contracts associated with this SPLOST? How many hands we got, Rick? Three? Raise your hands again, I just need a count. You actually bid on some contract within this county in the past 2 years, since this SPLOST has been passed?
I at least see two.
Two. Okay. Why is that? It's okay, I know we all got jobs and so forth, but then we get criticized for having to go outside the county and across the river to import talent. Right? Now, I'm not saying you quit your jobs and do this, but we're saying you got to help advocate for Douglas County. Because every year, if the president spends trillions, governors spend billions, we spend millions at the local level. We're going to spend it regardless because the taxation has occurred. Our job is just to make sure that we appropriate. So, that being said, nobody's bidding on it. One of the things I also noticed that contracts weren't consistently being awarded here. And so with that being said, we thought that was something that was important. Yes, it was happening even in Douglas County. It was the same old people getting the same old money, and you saw the money leaking out, and you think that you're hiring people that were looking out for your interests, but your roads weren't being paid, you weren't getting street lights, you weren't getting community, you weren't getting anything, but you were being dealt a hand in such a way, but follow the money out of here. I hated that. I despised it, because I thought the citizens were getting a raw deal. And you were accepting a hand that was being dealt to you that was wrong on so many levels. There's probably what's going on much, you're talking about political wickedness in high places. Oh yeah, it was going down. And I thought it was unfair. And so when you see me take a position to advocate for district, that's what I'm here for. To make sure your tax dollars come back to you. I can't worry about anybody else. I'm just one vote. But I make sure that you guys get your share of the tax dollars, your share of opportunities. But as it relates to contracts, and so now you guys, I have some neighbors here that are from District 3, some old friends. I appreciate you being here, but I've got one of my colleagues here, Tarenia Carthen. She was just recently added to the Board of Commissioners. So we've got a different look on the legislative side. I mean, you've got Madam Chair on the executive, but now you've got this, a new person to join, Commissioner Mitchell. He'll be here in a minute. Is he here? Yeah. Perfect timing. Okay, this is beautiful. Okay, thank you, Henry. All right, and so joining Commissioner Mitchell, and I'm going to shift this really quickly, and Henry, follow me. Commissioner Mitchell, even though I may be the most tenured on senior statesman, he has more experience. There's not a better defensive legislator that you'll ever know. He's got 2 terms at the city and now 3 terms at the county. He's that good. There's nothing I did during these 10 years that Henry Mitchell was not involved in some kind of way. I mean, he's that important. He's that guy, that middle linebacker. I mean, he will hit you from opening your mouth. He will push you back. And I appreciate what he brought to the county. And Henry is very good. If I'm looking out, I'm trying to translate the vision. Henry's all process, all operations, all like, okay, that's not how that thing works. And I really appreciate him. And so joining that senior guy, if he's on one end, I mean, I'm Dion. I clear everything in the back. I catch everything. But without this guy up front, again, it would be a different story. Joining me legislatively and joining Henry legislatively is Tarenia Carthen. Tarenia, come on up here real quick. Guys, give her a hand clap. Tarenia, I got you, Henry. Tarenia, come on. You get the microphone by yourself. Henry knows I got him. So please, talk about whatever you want about. She is the chairman of procurement. She does a lot of other things. She's on, 8 committees? But here, do your thing.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Great. I am, just like he said, I'm the newbie, so I think they put me on every committee to haze me. I really do believe that. But I'm truly enjoying it. I am a little over 90 days, so I'm still getting my feet wet. I am taking training, and I'm learning a lot from Madam Chair and Commissioner Robinson and Commissioner Mitchell. So, but I do want to let you guys know that when we say we want to keep Douglas County dollars local, we really do. So if you have a business, whether it is you sell paper, please come onto the website, see what it is we need, and come down and fill out an application. We want you to experience your tax dollars, not just driving the roads and not just, coming in and shopping, but we actually want you to build your businesses here. We want you to live, work, and play in Douglas County because we believe that it is the best county anywhere. We have the best people, we have the best government, we have the best neighbors, and we have the best quality of life. And that's what we believe. I believe, like Commissioner Chairman Jones says, excellence is par none. We are giving you everything that we can. We are bringing businesses here. Chris Pumphrey is working hard to get great businesses here, right? So that we can leverage those tax dollars so that everything won't come from the homeowners, right? So we want to make sure that you get to experience a great quality of life. If I knocked on your door when I was running, you heard me say 3 things. 1, I was going to listen. The second thing I wanted to do was build sidewalks, because we need to get out in the community and we need to meet our neighbors. And I think walking and communing like that helps us to be better neighbors. And then 3, that I was going to work hard for you. And that's what I'm doing. So next Tuesday, I will have my first town hall. I've been in office a little more than 90 days now, so I'll be having my first town hall. I want you to come out. I want you to see what we're going to do in District 3. We will have our Douglas County DOT there to answer questions about the sidewalks that are going to happen on Chapel Hill. I know it'll be a little bit of inconvenience for those of you who live in that area or who use Chapel Hill to get to 20, but we want you to know what's going on. So again, it will be Tuesday, April 23rd. It will start at 5 p.m. and we will go from 5 to 7. It's at 4040 Chapel Hill Road inside Studio T, which is right across the street from Chapel Hill Middle School. So I invite you out. So if you have any questions, please feel free to stop. Shake my hand. I don't bite. I love talking to people. I just want to enjoy being your commissioner, and I want you to get to know me and let me know what it is that you need, okay? All right. Thank you, guys.
Ross's name. All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. And she's been a breath of fresh air. And I saw, he will always be a commissioner. I saw Commissioner Moak here this weekend at his spay and neuter right here. And it was a joy, and I really enjoyed supporting that initiative and stuff. So, but the citizens of District 3 picked Tarina Carthen, and if Madam Chair had 2 months to add value, 2 years, she had 2 months, and she's really doing it, and I appreciate it. All right, let's keep this thing going. So, we talked about the SPLOS. I gave you context of what District 2 does. In other words, we hold our own, we bring value, we acknowledge that there's a new day. But here's the last thing, and this is important. The reason I asked my 2 peers to be here, because Lee Road in and of itself cuts through 3 commission districts. This is not just about District 2, it's about a corridor. It's about a vision going from east to west. As we know, in 2009, we had the 500-year flood. I was looking in Brookmont at that time. I rolled over, when I was married at the time, looked at my wife, and I'm like, something's not right. But for 72 hours, it was just that lightning. We know it was something we lost a lot of lives, right? I mean, we know it was serious. So we lived through some times, a recession, a great flood, all those things. And what we learned through all of that is that we recognize that Douglas County, unlike more advanced cities, not just for the most part, have north, south, east, west. Everything we do is north, south. You got to go to the highway, got to go to the highway. There's no real good cut-throughs. And we had cut-throughs, they're cutting through your yards. All right, they're cutting through your neighborhood. You get mad, Brookmont, they mad about this. People cutting through, I mean, you guys know what I'm saying. It's the cut through, and you don't like that. People on Mount Vernon don't like to cut through for a lot of different reasons. I get it. That being said, we recognize that Lee Road, starting right there at Veterans Memorial, coming over to the, cutting through South Sweetwater, over to what, right there at Lee Road and the bridge, all the way down to Publix. Eventually, this street will go all the way over to Beaumar and ultimately Chapel Hill. It will be our east-west connector. The vision we have for this, and what you'll hear about this, and this all ties this, it's not about just resurfacing and widening and extension. It's what are we going to do with that? And so I've got a couple people here that's going to come and talk about what that means for us and give you context of some of the things that you have participated in. So that being said, I'm going to use this as one more time. I've got another colleague here, and I want Commissioner Mitchell to come up and give context to a couple of things that are important to Lee Road. I want him to talk about the Senior Center. Obviously, he is the chairman of Parks and Rec, and so all the design, all construction, all decisions regarding Parks and Rec has to go through his eyes, his ears, and his voice really matters. So, Commissioner Mitchell, can you come up and just do what you do? Welcome him, guys. Give him a hand clap. Come on, guys.
Thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Again, my name is Commissioner Henry Mitchell, and first let me we understand the cut-throughs, we understand the road situation that we're having, but I thought I'll just touch on something I think a little bit more dear to us in a place that we're sitting in, Parks and Rec. And let me start from the beginning. when we looked at a SPLOST a couple of years or so ago, there was a few of us who thought Parks and Rec wasn't important. Strategically, Kelly, myself, and a few others, and this was before this administration that we have now, decided that we need to put more investment into Parks and Rec. So we start off with about 11 or 12% type of Parks and Rec investment, and then somehow, strategically, I don't know why and how they believed in me, but they did. We increased that to 17%, and that's what the Parks and Rec dollars of this $100+ million that we're dealing with SPLOST as of today. Great scenario. More because the needs in the parks in the community. Our kids, we want to live, work, and play, and want to have that time of when we can get out and enjoy where we live versus just all about work. So we did that, and we increased that dollar amount in Parks and Recs. So now, the glory of that now is we have a chance now that we're building a senior citizen center. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It'll be in Lithia Springs, right near the, what's the church? Cornerstone Baptist Church, the fire station, senior citizen center. And you'll see, just from the drawings thus far, being over the Parks and Rec as the chair, this is kind of the makeup what we're going to be dealing with here in the future. So to all of our seniors, we've got programming that's going to be in there that's going to be awesome. We've got also a therapeutic pool that I commend Barbara on actually asking and making that request for seniors. We're going to have pickleball, am I correct? Pickleball. I'm still learning what that is, but I think some seniors know exactly what it is and can't wait to get in this center. This center is going to be the new and improved version of Woody Fight. It won't be Woody Fight, so don't think Woody Fight. This is going to be the new and improved version, over 1,800 square feet of what this will consist of. And I think you guys are going to love what this will end up being once you get a chance to get in here. We've got the plans, we've got things all laid out and done, we're moving some dirt now. And there was a small cemetery that was beside it, and I thought it was important that this center complement that living space. And we did. We spent money, everything from the walk, I think it's a mile walk around, I'm not sure to the length. We got the walk that will actually encompass that particular area in the program. So again, that's the Senior Citizen Center. Also, I don't know if you want to let them take a peek at Boundary Waters. We'll get one of the biggest, largest community center in the history of Douglas County. This particular project, as you'll see, will be laid out in Boundary Waters. And it will entail a ton of things. I mean, from a workout center, I mean, a walking trail, 2 basketball courts, what am I missing? Community rooms, program rooms. It's gonna be the largest community center in Douglas County, and with expansions will be a part of this. So the good part is we had 3 designs in the Parks and Recs makeup. And each one of the designs, it was about dollars and cents. So everybody that voted and wanted the Cadillac version, we couldn't afford it. But we came in the middle of the road and was able to afford this particular center that we could add to it and find some other dollars and cents to kind of make it work. So I think we did an excellent job at what we came with when we got with the community center. So that's the community center thus far. And those are the kind of things that me and Tarina, that we deal with on a regular. And speaking of that, those are the new things that are coming through our SPLOST dollars, and I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I'll also add, we have actually talked about, and we have many conversations about the building that you're sitting in here now. And we understand that there's a need, and there are SPLOST dollars that are spent here in this building as well, however, in this particular part. But we know there's a greater need for the new building here, I think people have spoke about. Well, Tarina and myself, we kind of have that kind of conversation to say to the finance committee and others, how and when can we find the dollars and cents to kind of make this building cut? Now the dollars I think we came over with Tarina was about $90,000 to kind of get this building up and running and make it a better place where we can bring our kids and make this work. We're looking for the monies. The monies are starting to kind of come into fold. It's a working process, and we feel confident as the committee and co-chair that we'll find the dollars and cents to even get more monies in this particular park, but do believe we also have money that's going to be spent at the tennis court. We're renovating the tennis court. We figured it's time to, we couldn't just patch it and put it together again. We decided to go all in and tear it all out, start over, and get it right, because it cost us more to renovate it versus tearing it all out, doing it again. So though there are many dollars and cents that are spent in Parks and Rec, and I must say, this is going to be something great for the community, for Douglasville and Douglas County. So again, I'm not going to keep you long. There's a lot that's going on in Parks and Rec. I invite you to come and be a part of the meetings. We meet on a regular about the things that the SPLOST dollars are going to be spent here in Douglas County. I'm going to turn it back over to Vice Chair Robinson. If you have questions, we'll be around and we'll be here to just kind of filter those questions. Thank you again, sir. Thank you guys again.
Appreciate it, thank you. Now, again, we're going to take this thing, we're thinking, follow the money. The prior 2009 SPLOST, $120 million, roughly 140 all in, right? $140 million went into a jail. It went into to house roughly 700 people comfortably. I ain't got no problem with my deputies and all the detectives having good office space, but I need to give you context, right? Our administration, you spent $120 million to make 800 people comfortable, and the road conditions are what they are today. Y'all feeling me? I had a problem with that, right? So now, with this new SPLOST and new leadership that you guys have so fortunately blessed us, we said, no, we got to redistribute this, right? Madam Barbara J. Smith used to always tell me, like, look, I want to experience my tax dollars on a daily basis. And I heard her. And that became the mantra for, like, no, I get it. How you measure us, you may not experience, you may not visit anybody at the jail. You want it there per se, but y'all know y'all overbuilt that thing, right? It can hold 2,200 people, tops. I was talking to a high official over there across the river, and they said, Kelly, you know that's bigger than the city of Atlanta? I'm like, I know. Right? No, let's keep this real. It was overspent, but then you ask the condition of your roads. Now, I got to take the hit. I'm here with that. No, I know. I get it. Now, I said, I'll be right back. Right? And so you're going to see what I did about that. I just positioned myself as like steady, because again, I have a problem with that. So then when I hear arguments about why we go to community centers and senior centers, it's like, you didn't spend enough over there. We spent $5 million, probably $5 million cash on the animal shelter. Have no problem with the animal shelter. But it seems like the prior administration was all about caging things versus enabling things. I had a problem with that, but it's like, okay, I couldn't do anything. I was in the minority. No problem. Me and you did great defense. We shaped as much as we could, but we kept it real. We always kept our eyes on the prize. Right? So when things went down, it was time to like, okay, you gave us that SPLOST. Yeah, how did everything wind up in District 2? Well, if you weren't paying attention, that's your fault. Like, no, District 2, you matter. Why can't you have a community center? Why can't you have access to a senior center? Why can't you have street lights? Now, there is an ideology that really believes we don't want that. We want to stay in the dark. We don't want no street lights. We like it like that. And I believe it doesn't have to be either or. They can coexist. It's like, okay, well, let you be. District 2 gonna get street lights if you ask for it. You want sidewalks, we're going to do that. Thank you, Solicitor. You know it's on the list. Street lights, sidewalks to pass it. Everybody doesn't walk. I mean, some of you guys moved from a little bit more urban areas, more suburban. It's like, Commissioner Robinson, I moved out here because of the bedroom community. I like it slow, but can I get some street lights? Can I get some sidewalks? And you're only asking for fundamental things. Right? So this is important to compare and contrast what we're doing here. So next up, economic development. Chris, you only got 5 minutes, wherever you are. Chris Burford, come on down, talk about economic development, and we got 5 minutes. Yes, sir. All right, got it.
I'll do it in 3.5. Yeah, I'd like to. How's everybody doing this evening? Good. As Commissioner Robinson mentioned, I'm Chris Pumphrey, Executive Director for the Douglas County Economic Development Authority. We are tasked with economic growth here in our community, and that comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And so we do work all over the county, but I would say the majority of our activity happens in District 2, as you've seen in the sheet there where it lists out the percentages of different types of development that take place in this district. So a lot of activity happens in District 2. We took a very collaborative and concerted effort to look at how is that area growing from a quality perspective, and so we implemented something a couple years ago called the Sweetwater Master Plan, which was really catered towards the east side of Sweetwater Creek State Park. That is extremely dynamic area, not only for our community, but for this entire state. I don't want to say the number, but billions of dollars have been invested on Thornton Road south of I-20 over the last 10 years. And a lot of investment has taken place in that area, and it has really changed and raised the profile of our community. Formerly, we were only known for warehouse and distribution, and we heard through our process and our planning of the Sweetwater Master Plan that a lot of folks are tired of warehouse and distribution. To that point, there were 2 development authorities that were trying to do work in that same area and trying changing the profile of the community. So we've really seen a lot of data center growth take place in the eastern part of Douglas County. So much to the point that we are nationally recognized for a hub for data centers and technology companies in the state and in the southeast. Google has a 1.3 million square feet on that side of town. Switch is a co-location data center, has 1 million square feet underway. Cyrus One owns 44 acres, is in preparing to build a co-location data center over off of Riverside Parkway. Then you have other brands like Amazon is located on Thornton Road south of there, PepsiCo, and it goes on and on and on and on. And then you can also get educated in this area. So Mercer University is here. And to the point about those who may not have raised their hands about bidding on opportunities in the community, and maybe you don't have your own business, and maybe you have an idea about your own business, we are keenly focused on growing entrepreneurship in this community. So we partnered with Mercer last year to do a program called Co-Starters. We had 9 individuals go through that program last year who were looking to start their own business, and we partnered with the Chamber and Mercer to create that. That's here in District 2. So hopefully we'll be bringing that back around this upcoming fall. Hopefully many of you who have those ideas want to get involved. There were a few residents within District 2 that did participate last year. But as we've looked at that area, you know that a lot of industrial development has taken place in there. And we really started to look at how do we start to shift a little bit? How do we start to provide some of the other development opportunities in this area? And so we started a lot of attention and focus on Fairburn Road and Lee Road. And as has been mentioned a number of times, that transportation infrastructure that's going to go through to create that new east-west connector is going to create a whole new marketplace. You think about why Chapel Hill is so congested and why all the retail and things are going on over there. It's because the best way to get to I-20 is to go straight up Chapel Hill. And so it's a captive audience. And so we recognize that when that road comes through, it's going to divert a whole lot of traffic going eastward off of Lee Road. And so last year, at the end of last year, after about a 2 years of work trying to get us there, we took control of 136 acres at the intersection of Fairburn Road and Lee Road, because we know what's going to happen in that area. And we took control of that property, and we went through a master planning process. We're now going through the process of looking at what's going to be our development strategy for that area. How do we cater to more office type development, more mixed use development, more recreational opportunities, creating that urban oasis within the suburban environment. And so those are the things that we're working on to bring more diversity to this community. That is going to be a game changer for Douglas County's future, and we're really excited to be a part of that, and I believe I'm done in under 5 minutes.
Chris is great. Chris is very respected throughout the region, economic development. He leads Economic Development Council. His peers have great regard for him. We're talking about the 13 major metro counties. Chris is really that guy. We're proud to have him representing us. I mean, he's that guy, and I really appreciate him being part of Douglas County. All right, so I'm going to keep that going. So we only got 2 more, and that'll be pretty much it. So we're on time. He talked about a master plan. He talked about the master plan, which is something important. Some of you are involved from a stakeholder perspective, because we've always had a vision. In other words, government you don't have to just let your elected officials just sort of let things meander. You can be intentional. Your legislation should be intentional. Your administrative action should be intentional. But one of the things that, if you notice, sometimes something is so used to going a certain way when you're new, you gotta, you got to make it go in a different direction, right? It's sort of a status quo. And one of the things that we're having to do is go deeper within the organization. It's not the stuff that you see externally. It's when you begin to see staff changes. We're going to talk about that, right? We've got Miguel, who's brand new for us. You have to be able to shift because you do have internal bias. You do have obstructionism. It does occur. And sometimes you wonder, well, what's taking y'all so long? And it's like, okay, how do you do this when you know that there is counter forces in government, right? And so you got to be savvy. You got to know what you're doing. And so that being said, part of the process in getting citizens involved in stakeholder meetings and shaping what the future should be. So my next speaker is going to be Rebecca Kiefer. She is one of our consultants. She is the one that engaged you about this whole area, this whole legal corridor. As Chris Pumphrey said, we've acquired options on the land. We're serious, right? We're telling you up front, we're not trying to do stuff out the back door. We spent $10 million. Made one man $10 million for 29 acres. What? Right? Ain't nobody said nothing though, but we were about a $200,000 budget and other unnecessary stuff. Oh, I ain't finished. Right? So let's keep this in perspective. There's awful quiet. Right? So I gotta be that guy. I've got to say the stuff that you guys sent me here for that I said I will commit, to always be honest, to always tell you the truth. But also to say take a leader position, not to just say no and argue against something, but come up with alternatives. Come up with a direction, come up with a solution, come up with a financial plan. Come on, this is why I'm doing this. You told me to go pursue transportation. You sent me back to pursue mental health. You sent me back to pursue economic development. You sent me back to bring buses. I did everything that you sent me in 2016 to do. I did that. But this is the next part of that says, okay, now how does it meet you right at the rubber meets the road? Rebecca Kiefer, come on up and talk about this master plan. Please, y'all give her a hand clap, Matt. Rebecca's a consultant. She's not staff, we pay them, so, okay.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Robinson. Again, I'm Rebecca Kiefer. I feel like we're already getting familiar. That was my daughter Isabel and my dog Ella up on the screen to kick us off tonight. So just a brief introduction to kind of how we got engaged in putting together this plan for you. There was an internal staff team that got together and looked at what are some of the priorities for Douglas County that we need to look at. And with the Lee Road widening, they wanted to really look at anticipating the future growth and development that would come from that widening. There are going to be development pressures. So how can we get our ducks in a row and get ahead of that pressure and come to a shared vision as to what we want along that corridor before those pressures come. So that's really where we got started with the Lee Road small area and corridor plan. There was a pretty substantial public engagement process, a bunch of different opportunities that we had to kind of get your input. We were here last fall talking to you. I recognize some of you from that crowd, so thank you for your input at that opportunity. But we came to a couple of festivals, did shareholder or stakeholder meetings, met with the round table, and that was really that internal staff team was really the primary feedback for the detailed plans that we would come through the process. So through the public engagement process, we came up with a few plan priorities, and that would be, making sure the public is engaged and involved in the plan, reflecting on the prior planning efforts that Chris was talking about, anticipating and guiding development, and also prioritizing and coming up with an action plan that could be implemented. So from that process, we had some key findings. People were really looking for community space, places to walk, places that they could walk to. And so we really took those into consideration as we were developing these plans to then get feedback from y'all. Wanting space for family-oriented activities, maybe akin to a town green, and wanting kind of a sense of community a central space. So some common themes, and we had also seen these themes in some of the prior planning documents that you had done. So we went to the drawing board and came up with a couple of concepts for the Lee Road Small Area Plan. And that area encompassed the area Chris was talking about that would connect Lee Road at its current termination point to Beaumont Road through mostly undeveloped property. And that's where we came up with the small area plan. This is kind of an aerial, just graphic of that small area plan, and I'll go into a little bit more detail, but this is just an aerial rendering of that. And then a rendering of what it might look like, what it might feel like as you're within that development. Bike lanes, very walkable, some bridges over a water feature. And so this is the final small area plan that was adopted by the Board of Commissioners. And there are a mix of land uses that we heard from you, opportunities to shop, varied housing types. So there's, stacked flats, there's assisted living, and a town green that goes through the center, and some potential civic space. We heard that the county is potentially outgrowing some of the facilities, and so maybe there's an opportunity in the long term to build some county facilities here as well to help activate it. In addition to that, we looked at the full corridor, and one of the primary, pushes we had for this, the feedback from the public and the Board of Commissioners and the roundtable, was that through the corridor, how you wanted to guide development was not with this linear commercial district. That you wanted more nodes along the way, and to more so maintain the corridor as is, or in an improved sense. So what we did is look at the corridor, and then there was also a character that went from east to west that differed as you progress through the corridor, that the eastern side is maybe a little bit more intensive and then gets more residential and less developed as you get there. So through the master plan, we identified some potential green space, potential residential development that could come in. And really where this will come into play with the implementation is, as developers are coming and saying, picking out a parcel, and they say, we want to put a gas station here, then the Board of Commissioners and staff can look at the land use plan that's been adopted by the Board of Commissioners and say, is that an appropriate land use for that property? And so that's kind of how that component is implemented. So there's also an action plan in the plan, and it looks like this just graphically. And there were 4 main components that we looked at highlighting in that action plan. That's the safety and access management, walkability, sustainability, and zoning. So for instance, one of the safety and access management components was closing or shortening curb cuts. That has impacts for walkability. There are more conflicts with cars as you're walking down a sidewalk. If there's a bigger space that a car can be, then there is more potential that you could be hit with a car. So looking at in the future, are there regulations for maximum driveway sizes that we can allow for developments? Are there opportunities to reduce some of those now? Looking at some of those in the long term. Walkability, has been mentioned today. Identifying sidewalk gaps along the corridor, adding those sidewalks that are a part of the Lee Road widening project as it is, and then also identifying are there simple things like crosswalks that we could be adding now to improve walkability and safety. And sustainability, Douglas County is an ARC green community, and with that there are different policies and procedures that can be adopted that can help further some of those sustainability goals that also help with implementation of the Lee Road plan. And lastly, zoning. This would be taken in the case, like I mentioned, if a developer came to the county and indicated that they wanted to rezone something, then the plan is a policy reference document for making those decisions. So it's really important to keep it as a tool in reviewing those applications. And from there, then it's just looking toward implementation and making sure these recommendations of the plan are being referenced and referred to. So adoption occurred at the beginning of February, so we've got that step done. The county is looking at grant funding opportunities, and even in respect to regulatory changes, applied for some funding from ARC to hopefully get some zoning changes to help some of the development character that is described in the plan. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Commissioner.
She did good. Did that make sense? Is it clearer where we're going with this? Okay. This was input, not in a vacuum, but some of you participated in this process. Again, the tax dollars have already been allocated, right? Actions have already been taken. It's important that you pay attention and you be actively involved through your elected officials or through direct either committees or board appointments or whatever the case may be, or just sending emails. I mean, we don't expect, most of you got lives. I get it. That's why y'all send me down there to represent your interests. You probably got 1,000 people that follow us that probably are active. It's another 1,000 people that come to the chamber meetings, that's sort of the power structure. The other 100,000 people got other lives. Y'all got stuff to do. I ain't got time. Like, that's why we hired y'all to go do that. I get it. But I appreciate a room such as you who every now and then you peek in on like, so what you doing? And you hold us accountable. And I appreciate that, right? I really do. It's always an honor to serve. But at the end of the day, so now let's bring this full circle. This is the closing remark. We're going to close it out with Miguel Valentin. Miguel Valentin started with us roughly right when Madam Chair came on board. Right? He was one of the first key cabinet member hires. We knew we needed to shift, right? The old regime was just the old regime. They handled transportation the way they did it. They go out there and put a little dust out there, do just enough. And it was nothing wrong with that. I'm not talking about evil versus good. I'm talking about, well, that's the way y'all chose to apply government, and we choose, there's a higher standard, right? It's just a different expectations. I get you may do your economic bills and give incentives over there and you do this, but can I get my road paved? And that's what we heard, and so that's what you're hearing us emphasize, and we know that's important. And so with that being said, Miguel was one of our key executives that we brought on board, basically to clean house, right? To come in and say, take us in a different direction. We can't get there where we want to go based on the citizens' input, based on who's here. That's when government gets real. That's when you really can see action changes that the government, meaning the employees, that 1,000 employees, if they begin to move the way the leadership needs it to lead, to move, to lead, or whatever, right? That's key. That's how you judge us. We can come and talk about mental health, but until you see mental health, then he's just talking. If you say you want buses and you don't see buses, then okay, he's just talking. Right? If you say you want transportation, you don't see your roads being paved, or street lights when I see an email, they're just talking. But here's the thing. We spend $100 million a year, every year, for 10 years, $1 billion. And you tell me you can't get your roads paved? Where's that money going? Right? Follow the money. So yes, I do advocate for you guys. I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel bad about street lights on Riverside because I was asked. I don't feel bad about the things that I advocate for because those are the things that you asked for, right? Yes? And I say that because this is important that you sent us down here to advocate your interests, right? And so now you have to hold us accountable to say, well, if you don't, you should change us. But if we're delivering against the very thing that you asked for, then we keep this thing moving. So that being said, Miguel Valentin is going to come and he's going to bring us home to talk about this whole notion of Lee Road. What happened? I'm setting it up. Now, Lee Road, what happened to the money? We had a vision in 2009. What happened to the money? Where are we at today? And where are we going? So Lee, he's the guy who's going to be truly accountable to help us clean this up. He had to pretty much come in and clean up a mess, guys. This is not about Miguel. We call it BM. He had to come in. He's a 40-year veteran. We snared him out of Rockdale. Yes, it was a premium to get him here, but we needed that type of seasoning, right? He's our number 1, number 2, and number 3 from my opinion, and he's that good. But so pay attention to what he's saying about this role. Don't listen to an elected guy. Listen to him how he lays this out, and then we'll go from there. All right, Miguel.
Thank you, Commissioner. How's everybody doing? All right. Before I'm done, I promise I'm going to give you some good news. But before I get there, let me tell you how we got here. And as Commissioner Robinson indicated, I came to the county, it's going on close to 2 years now. One of the first things that the commissioner said to me was, we have some projects that have been in the books, in process, lingering for a while, and we need to get them built. We need to get stuff on the ground. We need to get the roads maintained. Now, but the number one charge, the number one project is going to be Lee Road. I need you to find out what it's going to take to get that project to construction. So, I've been doing this for a little while, and so I figured, okay, let me find out what the files at the county show, and what the records show, and where the money came from, and where it went. Well, it took me a little bit, but what I found out was that between the original allocation of funding from the Atlanta Regional Commission and the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, GRETA, the accounting hadn't been followed through all the way to where some of the funding was not accounted for. And so I went, and this was not at the county level now. This is at the different agencies. So luckily, where I worked before, I dealt with those very same agencies on the projects. So I went and met with the executive director of the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, and laid out what the funding showed at the local level and what their records show. And I asked him to please get his staff engaged to try and figure out, track down where the gap occurred. Well, I also went to the Atlanta Regional Commission, did the same thing. I went to the Georgia Department of Transportation, did the same thing. And they were all willing to help, but the message that I was getting early on was the funding that was originally allocated lapsed because the project was not taken to construction in a timely manner. So that money's gone. Well, we were not satisfied with that, and so we continued the process of, wait a minute, that's not gonna work. And so it took probably a good year before we were able to get the agencies all to align and finally admit that the funding, there was a error that was made in the allocation of funds, and the funding should be there. And the question was, well, how do we get it there? Well, as of probably 6 weeks ago, we received a contract from the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, the Georgia Department of Transportation, that now brought back the funding that had gone into cyberspace into the program. All of it. So it was one of those accounting errors or misallocation of funding that it was difficult to trace, but it was persistence, and frankly, it's just the right thing. If the funding was allocated and some kind of way it disappeared, they should make good on that, and they have. And so the contract came back, the Board of Commissioners approved it, it is now back at GDOT. to allocate the funding so we can move that project forward. So we are not quite there yet, but we are in the process. And it shouldn't be very long now. The estimation is that we might be able to get that project, the widening project, to construction perhaps as early as next summer, but if not, it will be the year after. So we are that much closer. But now, to the good news. Well, actually, that was pretty good, wasn't it? Yes, it was. Well, there's more good news. You have been, and I see a lot of familiar faces here, and you have been letting me know the situation on Lee Road with the potholes and everything else and the bumpity bump. And we have been hearing you, and of course, over the years, the issue of, okay, if we can get this project to construction, then the pavement is going to get fixed. So should we spend the money now to do resurfacing on it? Well, that is a valid premise for a little while, but it can't go on forever. And so it's gotten to the point where your commissioner, Commissioner Robinson, has frankly prioritized Lee Road to the exclusion perhaps of others, because you can't wait any longer for the project to happen. So kudos to him. Give him a round of applause. So with that, the resurfacing of Lee Road will begin in about 2 weeks. Weather permitting, okay? So if it rains that week, please don't call Miguel and ask him where is the contractor. They can call the commissioner, but it is weather permitting. We have really engaged the contractor to try and get them out here early. Their schedule was booked, and they've told us they're going to be accommodating to us if we can work with them a little bit. But the expectation is they've put us on the schedule for early May to begin the resurfacing. Now, it is going to be a temporary inconvenience, I understand that. But when it's done, you won't have to call me anymore about potholes, which will pain me greatly, as you can imagine. So that work is underway. When we finalize the process with the widening project itself, what's going to happen is the work that we're doing now, we're milling out part of the surface down 2 inches and paving 2 inches back, so it ends up pretty much where it is now. The reason we're doing that is so that we don't have to change the plans that were designed to where the road's been. So once that resurfacing is completed, it'll look nice, be rideable, great for a while, and then we'll let you know when the widening project starts. You're going to have to bear with us. So the widening project will begin early on with the utility work. So the road will not be as impacted for the first year or so. So you're going to have at least a couple of years to drive on a fairly new surface, nice new road. And then the widening work is going to try and preserve as much of the new work that's being done and widen to one side, shift the road, and then widen to the other side and shift the road. The new road is going to be 4 lanes with a median. So it's going to be a much bigger facility. There is going to be work done at all of the intersections. Some of the intersections are going to be that are on an angle now. They're going to be realigned so they tie in at a proper angle closer to 90 degrees. So, like I said, good news all around. Things are beginning to happen. It's taken a while to get us here, but we're almost there. In 2 weeks, you'll begin to see the work. One other thing that I will say is that in about a month and a half or 2 months, we will begin also a process of updating our comprehensive transportation plan. So those of you who have talked to me about certain intersections, even along Lee Road, other locations that need help, this will be an opportunity. It'll be town halls like this one. It'll be an opportunity for you to voice your concern and have all of those concerns and issues taken into account as part of that process. And then we will develop solutions for that and program projects into the future to solve those other issues. We're not going to be able to get there right away. Is going to be a few projects at a time based on funding, but things are beginning to move. And like I said, within 2 weeks, you will see some activity out on the road. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, real quick, and we're going to, like I said, I will be done at 8, and so I've got some time here for a couple of questions. But here's what I want you to hear. How much did this widening cost? 21? 21 million. And it was, the original cost was what? 12 million, right? Where was I going to get that money? So this, Commissioner Mitchell, come on up here, because I can't do this without you. This is important. While we were in the minority position, we did a great job of advocating every year for our capital transportation fund. To set aside a $500,000 here, $1 million there, we advocated for an economic development study, a transportation study, and a housing study. That was our leadership, meaning, okay, in these quiet years, let's plan for the future when times get good. So we were disciplined. We pushed setting aside that money. We appropriated, go look at the tapes. We pushed for that. So we push for tomorrow. I mean, in other words, some people, they just look at the moment and they just deal their hand. They like, okay, I'm 3 moves ahead of you. We were thinking for a time such as this. So, but we're in the hole by 10 million. Where are we going to get that money from? And the state said, I'm not going to give you no more. We might refinance this. Where are we going to get that inflated amount? You didn't drain the cash out for the $5 million for the animal shelter. We talk about all this, and this is what I'm saying, guys, where did the money go? So this the other part that's missing is like, okay, so how does Kelly Robinson, how do I go to my peers and say, I got to go find $11 million? Where do we get it from? Well, I had on our SPLOS a road. It was what? Anawake and Riverside. It was $6 million. And I had to decide, do we cut a road on the brand new Riverside to realign that, or was this more important? They're both in my district, and every now and then you got to make a tough call. I recognize my colleagues and those people who live along Riverside have that left turn coming out of there, but Riverside is not that old. I'm not about to cut a road through a hill to accommodate. They should have did that to begin with when they moved it from Lower River Road. To have 3 lights right there, I get GDOT's pause, but that's not my priority right now. So I asked my peers to join me to reallocate $6 million. But I'm still, what, $5 million short, right? So then I had to go to my peers once again and say, look, guys, this benefits all 3 of us. Let's take $5 million as part of economic development and reset this. Got me to $11 million. The state would not have done this. They would have pushed this thing so far out, guys. But here's the thing. We had already, where did our savings go? $5 million is missing. Listen, $5 million is missing in our savings. Where did it go? Well, somewhere along the way, the prior leadership decided to take that money and resurface a whole bunch of other places to the tune of $4 million that blew our budget. They talk about blowing budgets, Madam Chair. They blew the transportation budget by $4 million. They took this money out of the Capital Transportation Fund. Then they began to acquire right-of-way along the road. They were condemning property when that leadership group said, well, by the way, the state said that we don't have this money. I'm like, why are you condemning them people property? You must be out your mind. It was that type of thing, like, okay, are y'all following this? That we had to, we got to clean house. So when we became the new leadership, it's like, okay, we got to shift this. Madam Chair is coming in and taking hits for $1.2 million for reimbursements that didn't happen. Like, okay, and I'm like, Madam Chair, the numbers are not right. Yeah, you guys know I got low vision. I'm like, Madam Chair, the numbers are not right. Oh, staff is dancing. Oh, we can't find it. I said, Miguel, go find this. He comes in, he gets it. Within 1 week of me making that statement, the auditors came to us and said, y'all got to take a write-off of $1.2 million. I said, y'all took this money and condemned this property and paid those contractors, and then you left these citizens hanging. We put 2 families out. That's the behavior of the prior administration I could not accept. I looked at this and I'm like, okay, guys, we have got to shift this. And so you guys answer that with new leadership. But look at this. Miguel was the saving face for this to refinance this. Guys, I got to give him another hand clap. Because without him, we would be in trouble. I'd be giving you a different report. This was hard for him, guys, to come into a mess like this. This was very hard, and we were appreciative of him. Sometimes we're very hard on him. Commissioner Mitchell knows I am as chair of the transportation. But it's like I can follow the money, and I know what the people want. But he's done a wonderful job, and I thank you for just taking this. That being said, any questions for you guys for them? Anybody? Henry.
Anybody have a question that they would like to pose? Oh, okay, sure. Because this is all filmed, so you'll be on DC TV. Watch your toes there. Okay.
I would like to know, you're so concentrated on Lee Road. What about Fairburn Road? We need sidewalks down there. We have senior citizens and people that's disabled trying to go to the stores and stuff, and we don't have any sidewalks. We're walking on grass or in the streets or in the ditches. We need some sidewalks.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, let me just tee this one up. Okay. Oh, I feel you. Disabled, senior, all the above. I've walked from the courthouse to Riverside, 7.5 miles. I know in and out of bike lanes, fake bike lanes along Fairburn Road, no sidewalks. I'm there with my 10-pound bag, falling off the side of that ravine. I know exactly what you're talking about. But that's the difference between, it was about priorities. It was like, well, they didn't want to put down sidewalks. They didn't want to put down street lights. And so your point is, well, we are. Riverside is getting theirs. Lee Road, now, we $10 worth of need, but we only have what they call $1. And so Fairburn Road, if that's next, if you guys tell me for District 2, that's the next priority, I have no problem with that. But Lee Road is where we are right now. We recognize it. Miguel, why don't you talk about the sidewalk strategy that we just talked about in our Transportation Committee meeting, that we know that's important. Think about it. Congressman Scott recently came here, and he had a concern when he got off the street. You know, he was coming to an event, and it was dark. We need some street lights out here. Citizens are concerned about, right, we're just talking about safety to get from here to there. That's an investment. All new development going forward will have street lights. All new development around the commercial areas will have sidewalks, right, according to our standards. It's just that you had, 100 years of it never having it. And it's hard to go backwards, but Miguel, speak to that.
Sure. There's a couple things that I'll say about that. We hear you. We have certain funding set aside in the current program for sidewalks. We have projects of intersections or gaps in sidewalk that had been identified previously that the plans are being finalized so we can bid that work out and get it to construction so we understand. Now, there are certain areas that are not within the program right now, but that is why I mentioned the comprehensive transportation plan update that's coming up, because that's how these needs get into the program. So that will be an opportunity for you to voice those types of concerns, because the effort, once we engage the public with the comprehensive plan update, it will be for things like this. We will be going to the various neighborhoods and asking, what do you think about, what are your needs? Now, keep in mind, it's a large county and the funding is limited, but you will have that opportunity to bring that up so that it gets included into the program.
And this quick short story, the county, the Board of Commissioners have talked about and thought about the county overall sidewalk projects. So that's forthcoming, and we've had that kind of conversation. That's the quick story to you, hopefully your answer.
Yeah, and Also, we do have Councilman Siegel here because Fairburn Road goes into the city. So the city and the county has to work together in order to do that. So you have one of your councilmen sitting here now.
Absolutely. So, one other quick question. Okay. Can we get him first and then we'll come? Okay, quick.
The question I have is, you telling me that another agency, another group of people took money from you or either hid it. Now, what I want to know is, from a legal standpoint, is that not stealing? Because I want to know where the money went. Now, you can stand here and tell me, well, they moved it over here and they moved it over here. That's a lie. If the money not there, the money not there. And if you talking about is there, then you shouldn't have to wait 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years for it to come up. And we can get it back then. What you mean, get it back then? If it's there now, why we can't get it now?
Okay. Okay.
He brings up a good point, and this is why I always tell people, like, just be honest. I mean, we're dealing with a state agency. We are a subdivision of the state. All right? We didn't have our act together because we lack money. They kicked us to the bottom road. You're not shovel ready. That's at that time, that leadership, that administration. So yeah, we got kicked to the curb. You didn't have your money. No, don't get me wrong. So they didn't do wrong. They just like, okay, you're not ready. We got to keep going. We got to have 158 counties. No. They're putting up a match. We lost our match to theirs, so we had to put a down payment against their money. That's what it was. We messed up our down payment. Right. We recognized the money was reshuffled to other priorities. So they took out of District 2 and reshuffled across, and then again, they went and condemned some money. I mean, they actually spent some money that they shouldn't have, that was going out the door to contractors and consultants to condemn property, and we didn't get reimbursed for it. So money was going out the back door, and for legally, that's, again, it was authorized. It was authorized. Next person.
And he's absolutely right. Can you come down a little bit so I can kind of come? Because we were not ready. We were with our portion. So that's what you got to make sure you understand. Our portion wasn't ready. GDOT and everybody else were ready to go, but we wasn't.
As far as on Riverside, how many more distribution centers are y'all going to bring, or are y'all going to bring any more? I know earlier he said that y'all was trying to slow it down. What do the homeowners need to be worried about?
Well, we've got city council in here, and for the most part, we control the road. We took responsibility for the ongoing operation and maintenance of the 7.5 mile road. A lot of these are decisions by the city council. And so I probably got a different position. I think we're light industrial out. I think we need to sort of mix up our digest. I believe we need a little bit different type of asset class in there, but that's something that you'd have to work with your city council. Is whatever their decisions are regarding their needs for their residents, we have to work with them and we'll accommodate it. But I don't want to put, I'd say take that up with the city councilman. Yeah.
I'll say the short answer is this. You've got one business park, Riverside West Business Park. It's a 500-acre park. It is zoned light industrial. So to that point, if a company comes to tomorrow and say they're ready to file their permit to build a building, there's nothing that can stop them as long as it fits within the zoning. So the zoning for that property is light industrial. The difference, however, becomes what type of proactive role do we play in that. But from the other perspective, if it's zoned for it, it's zoned for it. So we can't say how many are not coming. Right.
Okay, well, because we don't know the answer to that question until something come across his desk or he's approached with. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Concerning the Lee Road extension, is the plan to put the road in first and then attract development, or vice versa? And if so, if the plan is to attract development prior to the road going in, don't you think that's not a good idea? We need a road in order to get the development.
Okay.
Sure. There's actually two components. You probably have heard if you build it, they will come. With roads, that's kind of how it works sometimes. But in this particular case, we have a need for the road, for the extension, for the corridor. We are pursuing that irrespective of the development. It just so happens that there is a plan being developed for that area, but it will be two separate things. The project for the road will be to address the connectivity and traffic movement issues. The development is going to be what happens along the way.
Thank you, Miguel.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is right about 8 o'clock. I promised that I would end. For those who have to go home, especially my seniors hold me accountable. Last time I was over 7 minutes. So we're going to end this now. But also I want to acknowledge Gary Watson, who is our Director of Mobility, responsible for bringing our buses on board. I want to thank the collaborative firm for being here and helping us with that from a marketing. Again, this is information. I don't get to meet with you very often, but I hope this was important for you. Remember, you're going to be inconvenienced in how many days? 2 weeks. You're not going to like that 25,000 cars having to go somewhere else down that street, but that's 2.5 miles. It will take what it takes, but you're going to appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out to District 2's Town Hall. Have a good evening.